The following is a presentation of 13ABC Action News. Now, your table is ready. Join 13ABC's Jeff Smith with the decision makers of Northwest Ohio and Southeast Michigan. This is the Roundtable.
This is one of the greatest cities in the United States. I travel all over, been everywhere. This is a great city. The hardest part, though, is making people who live here believe in this place, making them think that we can actually be something great. At some point in time, every great city that you might visit, that you look at and you say, well, I stopped over at the coffee place and I went over here and I did that. Man, this is a great place to live. Why can't Toledo be that, like that? Anytime you're thinking about that issue, maybe you need to look in the mirror.
Toledo Mayor Mike Bell right there from earlier this week, the State of the City Address, an annual event, but man, was he fired up, and he's joining us this afternoon. Welcome once again. Welcome to February, first and foremost, and welcome to the Roundtable.
It's a pleasure to be here.
You were fired up. That entire speech, I watched it from beginning to end, and I mean, you had a lot of verve behind what you were saying.
Well, I have a lot of passion for this city because I truly believe in it, and I am just, you know, when you think about how long people have always said, well, we could always be this, we could always be this. Well, right now is the time to become what we can be.
I know when you campaigned 4 years ago, and obviously we're in an election year, and we'll get into that in a little bit, but when you campaigned, one of your benchmarks, and it seemed to play out again in this speech, was just the mentality that exists in Toledo and trying to change that mentality. So here we are 4 years later, and you're still harping on the fact that people still don't have any confidence in Toledo. Is that your fault? Is it council's fault? Whose fault is it?
I'm not saying that people don't have confidence in Toledo. What I'm saying is they need to stand up. They need to quit being so quiet about how much they care about this place and not only stand up, be willing to act. I would say that when I get to young people are figuring it out. I mean, they're actually acting, they're coming up with ideas, they're moving into the downtown area, they're really actually living the life of a true Toledoan, enjoying the quality of life.
Yeah.
What we just need is people to start stepping up and believing. Instead of talking about other places that we think are so great, which when you dissect them the same way we dissect our own city, you'll find that we're way better than most places. And so I'm going to stay on that. I think that, you know, it's just like the coaching a football team or any type of team. You got to keep talking about the positives, and you got to keep making people believe in themselves so that they'll go out and you can create a winning environment inside our city. And so, you know, it's not that people aren't starting to go in that direction, but I think that you have to still keep hitting the message, because at any point in time, because of where we've been in the economy, where the recession has been, the whole deal, it's easy to turn back and look at the negative stuff and not realize how positive things are actually around you.
Yeah, I think a lot of people get, I guess, upset. They get anxious. They think nothing's being done. You hear it in your office. You made mention of the fact you got away for a short time. Were able to just kind of enjoy your breakfast. Didn't have people over your shoulder. But all kidding aside, you really see this as coming together. And in 4 years, you think the work that you've done in office has brought Toledo a little bit closer to being that, not so much that shining city on a hill, but something along those lines?
Well, what you have to do is you have to be able to build the infrastructure of turning a city around. Part of that infrastructure was actually just being able to create the appropriate relationships. We didn't have really great relationships with a lot of different people that we should have had relationships with. And so what I've been doing for the last 3 or 4 years now is building that energy and letting people know that, look, we need to do this together. Everybody's on the same ship. Don't think that your portion of the ship is more protected than my portion. That we have to be able to do this together. That we need to be able to reach out. That we need to understand that when things hurt me, it's going to hurt you. When things hurt you, it's going to hurt me. Mm-hmm. And how do we come together and build the right synergy to be able to move not only Toledo, but the whole region forward. And so I would say that in that period of time that I've been mayor, we've worked on that. You know, we have great partners. We have the RGP. We have the Port Authority that we work with on a pretty regular basis. We're working with the University of Toledo. I mean, we're reaching out to every group. We reach out to Wood County. We reach out to Fulton County. We reach up to Monroe, Michigan. Mm-hmm. You know, we're reaching up to even Detroit to try to make sure that we have a great workforce here. We have a lot of great assets in this region. We just need to be able to leverage them. And so for so long, people have tried to individualize it.
Did you think Toledo,
to doing it together?
back when things were going well, did you think Toledo was arrogant? Was that why we had those poor, I guess, relationships with kind of the surrounding communities? Have you tried to break down that wall? I mean, what's been going on the last 4 years?
What I would say is that I don't know if Toledo was arrogant, but it was a different management style. My style is about unity. It's about bringing people together. It's about moving in the same direction and not worrying about who gets the credit. You know, I'm not what I consider a typical politician because I really don't care who gets the credit. My people and my staff.
You campaigned about not being a politician.
Yeah, my people in my administration said, well, you know, you can't do that as a mayor. You got to tell people what you're doing. Well, I think if it's a we thing going on, people are going to know. Okay, if they really are paying attention, they're going to know. And so I keep my focus on the we portion of being able to move this place forward because that's what it's going to take. No one person, I don't care who they are, is going to be able to turn the city around, but a group of one people, a group of them moving forward can turn this place around.
Is there a problem with you and council?
I don't think there's a problem. I think their job is to monitor the things that I do, and you know, they're a different portion of government, and theirs is to control the money flow and things like that. And so occasionally we're going to disagree. You know, mine's is, I'm more than aware as a mayor that the clock is always ticking on how long you're going to be able to do whatever. And so I'm about action. I'm not about a lot of meetings. I'm not about, you know, putting a whole lot of words to it. Let's figure out how we get this thing moving, because for a lot of them who have been in council and in government here, they've been around for a while and they've talked about these things. Let's get done with the talking and get toward the action, because the action is what's going to bring the economic growth and development to our city.
Do you feel like you work better if you kind of move away from getting council's agenda first, that kind of thing, getting not so much their approval, because although you do need their approval on some things?
Well, what it is that it is a strong mayor form of government. It's not a city manager form of government, and sometimes I think they come at me like I'm a city manager. It's a strong mayor form of government. I need their portion to be able to deal with the financial issues that we have to deal with, but I'm supposed to show the vision of where we're supposed to be going based on the things that we're doing inside our administration. You know, for us, it's an everyday operation. It's you know, it's a 24-hour operation, and so there's probably a good potential we're going to see more about what's going on than they are. We have very good council members, but I mean, this is all I do. I don't have any other part-time job. I'm focused on the city. I never shut it down. It doesn't make a difference what I'm doing today, tonight, tomorrow. Okay, people are always going to be right there telling me what's going on, and so I think I have a pretty good feel for what's going on. And so typically when I bring something forward, it's based on listening to enough people to say, well, maybe we need to start moving this thing forward.
You brought out a number of bullet points during your speech to the Rotary Club on Monday. One of them, budget and management, was a place you spent a lot of time talking to the members there, saying, here's where we are, here's where we need to be. But in 4 years' time, have you gotten that budget where you've wanted it? And one of the things you really were adamant about, you said, we have not raised taxes.
That's right, we have not. And have we gotten the budget where we want it? I would say that from where we started, where the budget is and where it's going to be at the end of 2012, we've raised it about $19 million in revenues compared to when we started, okay? Close to 20. And for a city that was almost on the verge of fiscal, its own fiscal cliff, to be able to come back from that, not raise anybody's taxes, be able to keep the same services, because that was one of the key things people were talking about. You better not, we don't want to raise our taxes, and you better keep the services the same. We've met that mission, and we balanced it. Now we're in the black, and we actually have a rainy day fund. So from where we started, yeah, have we met our mission on that? Absolutely, and we've met it in a very great way. But I couldn't have done it by myself. It was council. I mean, we had to make some very tough decisions. Didn't make everybody happy with some of the decisions we had to make, but they had to be made. And because we were able to do that, we're in a great financial place right now.
From a management standpoint, and when you talk about your people, your core group, and I know there's been a lot of heat that's been brought your way regarding salaries and that, is that part of a good management?
I think it is. I mean, remember, I'm a person that was inside the system. So it's not like a person that's just come in for the last 3 years and you're new to the city and how it runs. I was in that situation. I was in the city. I was an exempt employee, and I watched all these things happen. I remember asking the council members, well, what about us? And they said, well, we you know, that's you know, we're just going to move on. And it was the unspoken secret that we just kept moving. And so what I chose to do is address it, okay, because I want to be fair to everybody. We've been fair to our union employees. We want to be fair to our exempt employees. It's about being fair to everybody. And it took a while to get there, and I had to actually become the mayor for it to happen. But it was a discrepancy in it all the way back to when I was a fire chief. And so it was one of these things that unless I had brought it up, it was never going to be dealt with because it's too politically hot.
A couple of the other things that you brought up, safety. That was a key stat that you wanted to make sure that everybody knew what was going on with not only safety services as far as the Toledo Police Department, but obviously something close to your heart, and that being the fire department.
Oh yeah, we've done very well there in a situation where we once again started off with them from a former administration putting 75 laid off police officers back. We have continually started to grow from that point. For the longest period of time, no police officers had been hired. So in the last 3 years, and by the time we get to the end of this 4th year, we will have hired more firefighters in 4 years than was hired in 16 years, and we will have hired more police officers in 4 years than was hired in 12 years. And so we've met the mark. We are going to have 169 firefighters hired, about 165 police officers hired in that 4-year period of time. So I think that we've met that match. And also we built and we opened a station, okay, in 2012. We're going to refurbish a fire station in 2013, and we're going to build a new fire station in 2013.
Do you think the Northwest District Police Station should be reopened?
Not at all. Absolutely not. It would make more sense to hire 2 more police officers, put 2 more police officers in the class with that $100,000, than to put it in a building that you know that you can't staff because you don't have the people to staff it. Okay? That district plan works when you have a lot of people. But if you don't have a lot of people, who are you going to put there?
You don't think a mentality standpoint for those residents living in that area, having that there is good for you, is good for the city?
Let me just tell you this, that since we closed that building, the crime there has dropped just about 20%, okay? So
that doesn't make sense.
That's because the crime fighting isn't done in the building.
Yeah.
It's done on the streets, okay? We never gave up supporting that area from the standpoint of providing protection. Right. It's just a matter of taking people out of a building and putting them on the street, and that's where the crime happens. There's not going to be any crime happening inside that building. So anybody that's coming to that building is going to be reporting the crime. Isn't it, I think, more proactive to go out and have officers in the district? So no. Do I endorse that idea? No, because there are more expenses to that, because if you start loading it up, we don't have the officers to put, you know, 10 or 15 people in that building, okay, and then have them just leaving there.
Do you feel like right now Toledo's safer than it was when you came into office?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because we're doing the things that are necessary. We're putting new officers on the street. We're putting data. We're using a data processing techniques in the police department. We're putting cameras up. I think we're a lot more safer than we were before because, for one, we're focused on it, and it's an agenda for the mayor.
How are the neighborhoods in your view?
I think the neighborhoods they're coming along, okay? Once again, once you start when you don't have anything and you got to try to come back on this, you know, we have torn down about 1,100 houses since I got into office. We're scheduled to tear down another 600 this year. We've fixed what we considered the problems with the Department of Neighborhoods. We realized that we were getting $8 million worth of money from the federal government. We're trying to disperse it in the method that they told us that it has to be dispersed. So I think that we're moving in a very positive direction to be able to address those issues. We had some problems, but we've addressed the problems, and we're moving on to try to fix it to the best of our community.
And one of the things you said, as far as if we go back to taxes real quick, the water treatment plant is an issue that has come up as of late, and that is something that you say needs addressed. All of your people are saying it needs addressed, and by and large, that will mean taxes go up.